Welcome to the Creative Showcase stage. You're watching the Culture Track. Please put your hands together because it's time for our next session. Welcome everyone to the stage.
Hey everyone, my name's Tom Agello. I'm lucky enough to be here today with Kathryn Morris. And we're gonna have a conversation about her new initiative called the Savants Initiative. But today is a special day because she's fresh off of the Today Show. And I'm no Al Roker, so I'm just warning you, it's probably not gonna be as good as maybe today was, but if you have a chance, Google Kathryn Morris and the Today Show, you get a lot of backstory for the content and the ideas that we're gonna talk about today. Yeah. But of course, to get us started, so Kathryn, of course, if you recognize her, you'll probably recognize her as Lily Rush from CBS Cold Case, a 7-year running show, one of the most awarded and longest running TV dramas. You know, beyond Cold Case, you were at the top of your acting game, much beyond that, with experiences with everybody from Spielberg to producing your own stuff. Mm-hmm. It was the red carpet was being rolled out for you and by you.
That's what I was trying to do. I had it all figured out.
You had it all figured out, and then suddenly you vanished.
Yeah.
And so you're here today. You were with the Today Show today, and now you're here with us to catch us up on what happened and what's next.
Well, yes. First of all, I'm still kind of running high from the Today Show because I literally just jumped out of a plane, something that I had kept very private and secret for the sake of my family and my children and for their privacy and recovery and doing well. And just for my own well-being. I literally just told the whole world on the Today Show, and it's a great moment.
So what did you tell them? What did you tell the Today Show?
Hey, guess what?
Where have
my
you been?
kids are on the spectrum. No, I told them about how when my children, first of all, I was at the top of my game, whatever. I had just finished a 7-year series, and we were in syndication across the world. I was traveling all over the globe. We were number one in many countries. I had a first look production deal at Warner Brothers. I had done several films with Steven Spielberg, and at the end of the show, I fell in love with someone and didn't expect it. And we fell in love, and I was kind of trying to hold off on the mom thing. I don't know if I'll do that. I mean, I've got so much going on. I had just booked a movie starring opposite Brad Pitt, who's, was my ultimate. And I had life by the money balls. And then we had twin boys.
You were in Moneyball.
Yeah, yes,
right?
I was. And then I was cut out, so I thought, well, that's okay, because I work with Brad. So it was definitely on my bucket list. And then we had these beautiful twin boys. And everything was perfect, everything was magical, and they were healthy, and all of a sudden, I had a big fear of being a single mother of my whole life, because I knew a lot of moms, single moms, and I just didn't know if I could handle that, and I really wanted to make sure I was a great mom if I was going to be an actress. So, we had these boys, and everything was going great on producing and selling, and then all of a sudden, around 18 months, our sons began to regress into symptoms of the autism spectrum disorder. My son, Rocco, just completely disappeared. He began to lose a lot of bodily function, meaning like he couldn't sit on a chair, he would choke on food, he couldn't really lift a spoon. Potty training was something that was like not even in his sphere. He didn't understand a street. He didn't understand that water was something that he could drown. He just continued to just slip away.
And Jameson as well.
Yes, and Jameson went from being like this prom king guy and charming and Mr. Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, and then all of a sudden he was just like a hellion and attacking others, attacking himself. head banging, and neither of these kids slept. I just thought, wow, it's a good thing that I did a TV series because I am never going to sleep. I'm going to be up all night.
So top of your game,
yeah.
2 kids diagnosed with autism, twins, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. It was the early 18 months, and then by the time they were 3,
yeah.
they were officially, you got the drum roll of, Rocco, it's looking like he's going to live with you for the rest of your life. He has delays in 5 areas, and it's autism on his 3rd birthday.
So we've had the chance to talk up until now, and I've gotten to know that story doesn't have a sad ending.
No.
And you were able to not go on just a journey of recovery for your sons, but for yourself as well. Mm-hmm. And you're obviously back and on the circuit, which is really exciting. So what story do you have to tell us there?
Well, so what I ended up learning was that people would always ask me, like, Jameson, Rocco, like, you know, Jameson was very verbal. He started to have these sleepless. He had epilepsy on top of it. So I just ended up being on this spiral of isolation and exclusion, starting to meet professional moms that were also life hacks, and now suddenly they're like a prosecutor, and now they're stuck at the park feeling isolated and alone. And I thought, wow, like I really need help. I was relentless. I was trying to find advocates. I was trying to find turn every stone. And someone handed me a Post-it. Someone texted me and said, you need to know so-and-so. And I thought,
information is power.
This is the information. I felt like I had stories of hope, and that I thought maybe there's a chance that my kids can get better. And I thought, wow, these are amazing women. They want nothing from me. They're not my entertainment friends. These are sage women. There's one woman in particular.
Naomi.
Yes, there's a woman around the age of 3 when they both were diagnosed. She says, Kathryn, I'm going to take you to dinner. I said, oh, I don't know, that's okay, I'll take you to dinner. I mean, I was used to picking up the check. She says, no, I'm going to take you for dinner. And then she says,
she took care of you.
Kathryn, she says, Kathryn, you're about to be excluded. I said, oh. I said, well, I think they're doing well, and they're in their therapies, and you know, I'm trying to work on their food stuff and stress and wellness. And she goes, no. You're about to be excluded, and you need to let me take care of you. Me and my 20 friends take care of you. They're all autism moms. We're going to take care of you, and one day you will take care of someone else. But not now. We're going to take care of you. And this was a complete stranger. She gave me hope, and she took care of me, and she showed me the way. Then someone else said, hey, you need to reach out to talkanow.org. That's an amazing program with doctors and resources and lawyers and advocacy and mentor programs and moms, families helping families. I think I know someone that knows Lisa Ackerman, and her son, they said, was going to be institutionalized, and he's actually going into college right now. I thought, what is going on? Like, I have to know this. And
so
I thought, these women, yeah, I tapped in.
You tapped into a network, you tapped into resources, you tapped into people that understood
these were the
place you were at.
Yeah.
And well, I guess tell us how it felt to realize that you had access to something that was going to hopefully change your life.
I realized that people would always ask me, oh, Rocco and Jameson, like, do they have any gifts, or are they savants? I thought, you mean like in the movie Rain Man, or are they gonna, I thought, well, my son doesn't really speak, but I can tell he's in there. But what I learned was that the true sages, the true savants, the true people with the gifts were these people that helped me. And I thought, I have access. I know that the other friends of mine, the other classmates, the other moms, the other dads, that if I could help them, if I could give them these gifts, if they didn't have to cut through all this red tape to get to this one place, if they knew that it was in their rights to go to school and ask for that, they knew how to do the diet. And I thought, I'm onto something, because I know I can help people, because my kids are doing better. And I just had to get into the secret society of people that help me.
And so this Savants initiative is your way of taking that content, that community, that information, those tips, and turning it into a media brand, another secret society? What's next?
No, I don't want it to be a secret society. The Savants Initiative is a content, commerce, community, and a mainstream conversation. To me, autism is always on the side, but we don't service in our mainstream culture. We haven't had a paradigm shift where we're all actually together. For example, we're talking about autism in this room right now. We're talking about our relationship as parents of children with autism. We're talking about the sibling who is a neurotypical sibling. We're talking about teachers that just don't know what to do. We're talking about the grandparents who had children that were not as diagnosed. They need directions, they need information. We need to have a community where we're all together. There's tips for parents and all families that are just trying to make things happen right now in the pandemic. So on the Savants Initiative, at thesavants.com, we're going to have a community, we're going to have something for everyone. There's things that I've learned from autism. For example, somebody told me you need to get a weighted blanket. A weighted blanket, what is that? What is that? I mean, I would not have known what a weighted blanket. I bought one from some lady who made it in another state and shipping charge, and it was like, several $100s. And trust me, if you haven't slept with a weighted blanket, you're missing something.
We could all use a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
If you don't have a weighted blanket, get yourself one. It's good stuff.
I didn't know how to really cook that well. I mean, I could cook enough.
You said to me, the weighted blanket's reminding me, you said to me, we're all living on some level on and off the spectrum.
Yes.
And that's something that's kind of on your heart and also something that you want to bring forward through the Savants Initiative. Tell us about that. Maybe there's somebody in the audience right now that's at the point you were at when your boys were diagnosed. Maybe there's someone else out there who has a friend who has kids with autism or is affected by it in some way. How is this all something that we should all know more about?
Well, just shy of Rocco's 3rd birthday and Jameson's 3rd birthday, an occupational therapist said to us, I said, what's going to happen? What are they going to say when they do the final diagnosis at age 3? And he says, well, I've been working for Rocco for about 2 years, and I feel like on any given day, any one of us could be put on the spectrum. He says, and that might be like, oh, it's autism. What are we going to do now? And he says, but I see how he's progressed. I know how intelligent he is. I know the progress that he's made. And we know Rocco. And we know you as the mother and you as the father. And we know that we're all around Rocco to be who Rocco is. So, I mean, was I obsessive about learning how to cook gluten-free, casein-free stuff because that diet seemed to help my children? Yes. Did I make a lot of mistakes? I made 100 batches of terrible pancakes to learn how to make the perfect fluffy one that tastes delicious. So I do feel like I brought the creativity of my own profession. I mean, I could do 7 seasons without a sick day. I could sell a show in a room. But here I was figuring out, how am I going to produce my life? How am I going to blow it? We want you to come with us. How did we blow it at Chuck E. Cheese so we could make it to Disneyland? How do we go to an entrance of the museum? Go to the lobby. Okay, it's not going to work today. We just got into the lobby today. But I feel like for the mom right now and the dad right now, they feel like this is a moment of despair. This is a moment where my son is never going to have language. My daughter is going to always be anxious, and
we'll struggle to have friends. We'll struggle to find their groove.
Yeah, and with the Savants Initiative, we want to really open up the doors. The special ed section is in the middle of the room. We are all part of this world, and my kids are doing everything that the typical kids do because they're included. In fact, autism, there's a big thing like, do you tell your kids about autism? And they heard it so many times, and I said, hey kids, do you know what we're talking about? I just want to know, what is autism to you? What do you think? How do you feel? And I noticed that they were confident, they respected who they were, and they knew, hey, I'm working on my language. Hey, I'm working on my levels of stress. I'm working on obsession. And I thought, I'm working on it too. And sometimes we called it some autism.
It's interesting with diversity and inclusion and all the things that we talk about today in terms of understanding everyone around us and at the point they're at in their own journey. It's interesting how autism isn't in the center of the room. It's not part, to use your expression, it's not part of the larger conversation yet. What is the autism diagnosis now? 1 in 54 boys nationally?
It's 1 in 54, yeah.
1 in 54, and in some states, 1 in way less than that. So it's not just something that's kind of off to the side. It's all of our lives are touching it on some level.
The things that touched me the most have been, I wanted my kids to have the most independent, fulfilling life that's worked for them. When I look back on a mainstream, like a microcosm of the mainstream, we were not able to go and get a cup of coffee. Even with one son, my one son, Rocco, could not even walk through the threshold of Blue Bottle Coffee. If you've been to Blue Bottle Coffee, which is great coffee, I thought if I could just have enough coffee, then I can get through this day. So we would work on it going in there. But eventually the echoing, we were able to tolerate it. Then eventually we were able to sit and have lunch. Then we were able to include the manager. Then we were able to have them order a drink for me. Then we were to say, hey Tom, how was your weekend?
I love that. That's a story of progress right there, right? The fact that, I don't know exactly if this is how it went, but the fact that Blue Bottle Coffee was the threshold to Target, and Target was the threshold to Chuck E. Cheese, and once you were able to get Chuck E. Cheese off the list, you could finally get to Disney World, because there's so many pieces to that puzzle. But when you're a mom or a dad with a diagnosis and the big A word and perhaps other comorbidities and other things, you don't only feel alone, you just don't know what the first step is to take. How does the content of the Savants and thesavants.com, just to say it again, that's the website, and where you could sign up and enter your email address today to both connect with Kathryn, of course, and be on the lookout for the big launch coming soon. But how is the content going to help a mom, a dad, or someone who's living near or with someone who is on the autism spectrum? How is it going to help them? What's it going to do? How is it going to take them by the hand like you were taken by the hand?
I was taken by the hand, and it was very, I was so immediately isolated, immediately excluded from preschools, immediately, there's no summer camp, there's no one-to-one for this, so you're not gonna be able to do that. I want you to come to thesavants.com. I want you to say, hey, let's work on the food thing if you wanna do this particular thing. Let's make some gluten-free, casein-free sweet potato muffins. Hey, let's delegate grandma to say, if you could just make this once a week. What kind of practical things with meditation or holistic things, it's actually gonna work? What's gonna make it practical? How are you gonna get to Big Bear? How are you gonna plan to go to Big Bear for 3 days? How are you going to actually do this? And how are you gonna also have this be part of your life? Like, where now we have my kids sometimes go and we say, Mama is working. We're going to go meet her at her office. And we will set it up that they came by to see what I'm doing, and then I will go check in and see what they're doing, because we are all together. So on the Savants initiative, on thesavants.com, there is something for everyone. Paleo, everything's been so niche and everything. And it's like, I was doing this, like some nanny gave me a cookbook. She had a lot of experience with autism. She showed me the way, and she says, you know what, I want to help you. I know this is a lot. I'd like you to just start with this and just do maybe these 5 races. I want to do that with you.
Information is power.
Yeah. And on the local level, and if it's not off to the side, if there's something for everyone in the family and everyone can go there. And we also are going to talk about a lot of things that have nothing to do with autism, like travel and things for the mamas and things for the dadas. I want to have a section on there called Mama Getting Coffee, which is what I used to tell my kids when I needed to leave the house for 20 minutes. Mama get the coffee? I said, Mama getting coffee. And that was where I would go call my friend and talk about nothing to do with what I was going through, and that I was a person, and that we want that to be part of it.
So in your wildest dreams, thesavants.com, and I know we're going to be helping you with brand advice and all kinds of stuff as you get this off the ground, and we're all rooting for you. And
Thank you.
Welcome back onto the red carpet, or the
Thank you.
black carpet,
I went to a cave, and I'm okay. I'm good.
In your wildest dreams, and with all of the success that you've had, and we know the conversations about new film and new movies and all kinds of stuff are coming your way, but for the success of the Savants.com. Tell us 5 years in the future, at its grandest success, what does it mean to you, and where is it going?
I would love to have a brand association and our own exclusive brands that completely target the needs of people with autism, but also service the needs of a lot of, I'll call it non-toxic wellness, health, nutrition, mental health, full mind, body, spirit, and also have content. You know, there are some great shows that cover autism on a little niche-y way, but I would like to see how that affects brands as well. Like, my kids needed to wear headphones for a long time for certain things. I would love it if we had brands that would join us.
What are the best headphones? Yeah, what are the best headphones?
And how do we adapt it? How about shoes and shoelaces where you don't have to go to a special site or a special store? I cut so many tags out of T-shirts and socks with seams. Like, socks with seams and T-shirts with tags literally were the difference between an hour or 2 hours of getting out the door. I want to make it easy. I want it to be affordable. I want it to have from low to high to bougie to how do we infect the mainstream in that they also join us. And, for example, if you go to a hotel, it's really hard to order for a child. So a lot of times we have to bring our little hacks. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was just like a couple of options? Like, I guess, wouldn't it be great if you had like the Hilton and they say, we have a gluten-free option and we'll make it for you with coconut milk. Like something like that.
That's all about awareness, not for just the autism community, but for all of us.
Yes, and action. It's actual in momentum where, I mean, and when it brings it back to the pandemic, my son Rocco ended up, they're both doing amazing. The seizures are under control for my son Jameson. Rocco has had a lot of cutting edge wellness and medical and diet and a lot of therapies. But during the pandemic, both of them were pulled out of school in one day, like all of us. All of us can relate. And a lot of the moms that I didn't get to catch up with back when we were basically booted out of private preschool because they were trying to help, but it just don't have the resources there. Here we were again on Zoom in a pandemic, and all of us had tears falling from losing loved ones.
It was something we all experienced.
Distance learning, job loss, and stress. And the typical kids embraced Rocco joining mainstream school, changing schools, new teacher, on Zoom. And it was the kindness and the unified struggle. And it really made me want to push this out there this year, because I thought, wow, we're all moms, we're all dads, we're all going through this. Autism for my family just completely levels everything. It levels, your personal relationships. It can cause static with family members, grandparents, sisters, aunts, uncles. Everybody says, oh, get into the behavior. I mean, fortunately, we had a family that leaned into it and allowed themselves to be open-minded, like the grandparents. And I really appreciate that, because that is not always the case. And we had, some static, but it was minimal, because I said, I invite you to join. I invite you to join our kids getting better.
In your information journey, you said, led you on a journey with profound creativity that created happiness and that created hope.
Yeah.
And I think that journey, and clearly today, as radiant as you are and excited about the future, clearly you're on the other side of it. And I think we're excited to watch you and hopefully all be part of the next phase of your journey, but also to some way, all of us, whether we're living on or off the spectrum, somehow contribute into making sure that you get autism into the mainstream conversation, and we'll be right there with you.
Thank you. I think that what I realized too is that we all have a special gift. We all have a special purpose. And even though, I thought people would say, oh, you have a gift for acting and producing. And I thought, wow, I never thought that being a mom would actually be the bigger thing in my life. That was real. The savants, the sage women and fathers that they taught me, and now we want to share with you. And we were all looking for that savant within us.
Kathryn Morris and the Savants.com, everyone.
Thank you.